everyone, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is rainy day soups. I'm Elizabeth, and as usual, I'm joined today by Katie and Beth, but we also have a special guest today, Jacob, because we are celebrating the big gay read. And Jacob is going to tell us a little bit more about that and why we chose rainy day soups as our way to celebrate that for Recipe Share.
Yes, so as Elizabeth said, we are here to celebrate the Big Gay Read, which is kind of like a community-wide book club. We want the community to engage with the queer experience through books. So we thought, what if we had a series of events? We're going to have the author come through to talk about the book and do a kind of like a Q&A thing. All sorts of things planned around this particular book. Now, the book is called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin O'Leary Signs. It is a wonderful book. It's about two teenagers growing up in El Paso in the late 80s as they discover the secrets of the universe. I don't want to spoil anything. Now, there is a particularly amazing part in the book where the two main characters get caught in the rain. Maybe they don't get caught as much as they decide to go out in the rain. And after that, they're a little bit cold. They're a little bit, ready for some soup. So they enjoy some menudo. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the skills to make menudo, but I do have the skills to make a different soup. And the rainy day soup that I made is called cheeseburger soup. So I chose this soup for a couple of reasons. It's something that, during the pandemic, it's the type of soup that you can make with things out of your fridge, out of your pantry. So this is something that I made a lot and that my family enjoyed. But also, the main character in the book works at like a burger restaurant. So I was like, man, it's a double whammy. Now to talk about the soup a little bit, I wouldn't call it a soup. I would definitely call it a chowder because it's chunky. You got about 4 cups of chopped up potatoes in there. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. It's a pretty straightforward soup, and when you hear cheeseburger soup, it's exactly what you think it is. Thank God there's no pickles in it. I think that would have been weird. Also, my arch nemesis, shredded lettuce, is nowhere involved. Thank God. I don't know. I hate shredded lettuce. I hate it. But yes. So basically, what you do is you cook down some meat. I had ground turkey in the freezer, so I just used that. Boy, do I wish it was beef. I'm eating the soup last night, and I'm like, wow, I really wish this was beef. But you got your onions, you got your celery, you got your potatoes. You cook it up in some delicious broth. You make it creamy. I wish I had Velveeta. This is the type of thing. This is not elegant food. This is food that should be made with Velveeta and not just shredded cheese. But as you'll see here in the lovely pictures that I painstakingly took, that I don't know, maybe 45 minutes of me taking pictures of the soup, you'll see that I jazzed it up with a little bit of what's it called? Fancy garnishes. So yes, and I understand that I'll be able to share the recipe with you, with the viewers as well. So if you want to know all the details about this particular cheeseburger soup, I was just going to share the recipe with you guys, but it was the type of thing that when I was making it, I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. Like it was Jacobified a little bit. So I got to Jacobify the recipe for it to be true to my experience. But yes, I'm very excited to share cheeseburger soup with you guys. Now, Katie, tell us a little bit about the rainy day soup that you had made.
Okay, I totally will do that, but I just want to say, first of all, your soup sounds amazing, and especially looking forward to hearing how you Jacobified it. And also want to say that maybe I'm a little weird, but as soon as you said cheeseburger soup, I was hoping that there were pickles in it. So
And maybe I just something about hot pickles doesn't sit well on my heart. But
maybe pickle
what?
garnish.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Give it a little pickle garnish, it'll be really cute. But yeah,
Hey, I do have a question though. What kind of
yes.
cheese did you use?
I used extra sharp cheddar,
Okay.
mostly because that's what I had. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, if I had to choose any cheese, I would have chosen Velveeta or extra sharp cheddar. So
Cool. Well, it sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing, Jacob.
yes.
All right. The soup that I chose today, the recipe comes from this cookbook from the AADL collection called the Soup Cleanse Cookbook. I am not a cleanse kind of person, but I'm definitely a soup kind of person, which is why I picked this book up. And I'm super glad that I did because I found this recipe. It's called green chili. And I am a chili fan, like all things chili, but I'd never heard of green chili before. So it was something that I was excited to try out. Basically, you just start with some garlic, onion, oil, cook that up, and then you add 2 cans of white beans and water. And while that is sort of melding and reducing about 30 minutes, you cut up a jalapeno and then some fresh herbs, cilantro, dill, basil, and flat parsley. So like a nice mixture there. And then you put it all in a food processor to just sort of get it into this like juicy sort of, I don't know, mixture. I don't know. It's all pureed. There you go, puree. So you stir your puree into the beans once they've reduced a little bit, and it just turns it this fabulous green color, and it's so tasty, herbaceous, summer chili. The only complaint that I had about this recipe was when I first made it for my husband and myself, we ate it all. And my favorite thing maybe about soup is leftovers. So I was a little bit disappointed. So I went out and bought all the ingredients again, doubled the recipe, and now I have green chili in my freezer left over for a rainy day. Anybody have any comments?
That sounds really great, Katie. Did
Yeah.
you say what kind of beans you used? Were they white beans?
They're white beans, and I use cannellini, but you could use navy or really anything you had. I use canned beans, but you could use dry beans too. You just like cook it for 2 hours instead of 30 minutes, probably.
Cool. And no tomatillos, right? It was just herbs what gave it the green color?
Yeah, no
Okay.
tomatillos, but I bet that would be really good.
It sounds delicious to me. I
Yeah.
love super herby things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It sounds very tasty, very summery for a soup.
Yes.
Definitely. If you've got an herb garden, it's a great way to use those herbs up for sure. Well,
And that sounds like a soup that would be, of course, delicious warm, but I wonder if it's any good if it's a little bit cold too. If it's that kind of thing.
yeah, I could definitely see that too. Worth a shot. All right, Beth, tell us what you chose for your rainy day soups.
All right, what I chose, because I got some broccoli in my CSA, I wanted to make a broccoli cheese soup. And I found a recipe. I was kind of hoping to use like an old recipe from the family or in an old cookbook, but I found one that was heartier, that had cheese in it, and it also has carrots. You know, you start out by sautéing the onions and garlic, and then making a roux, but then you add shredded carrot and the broccoli. Now, I made this one day. I made it a couple weeks ago, actually, but right after work, which is never a good time for me to try to make dinner, you know. I didn't chop up the broccoli all the way, but I do have a picture that I will show you. And then, and I have a little bit left over that we put in the freezer. So it's not even a full helping. I think I'm just gonna disappoint myself later. But yeah, the thing about this, it did call for really kind of any cheddar cheese. I use part Swiss just because we had it, and I would much rather do the sharp cheddar for sure. So it was quite good though. I would make it again. And also the comments where I got this from, did I say Gimme Delicious, a website? The comments were there were all sorts of things that people were adding or taking away, you know, bacon or any number, you know, no garlic. So it's super forgiving. And you could totally add Velveeta if you wanted. So
I was thinking chicken. If you could put
Yes.
chicken in it.
yeah, that would be good.
Sounds really good.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that there's shredded carrot in it. There was my recipe also called for shredded carrot. I had, you know, the worst time locating shredded carrot in the grocery store. So I decided to shred some carrots myself, and that was also a disaster. And I just went, you know what? Maybe I don't need to put shredded carrots in here. But that's my personal beef with shredded carrots. I love carrots, don't get me wrong, but what a disaster.
Did you use a carrot, like a carrot shredder? Or
Yes. And to be fair, I think this was one of my Dollar Tree purchases. So it's probably more my fault than the carrot's fault. But I just had to express that I had quite an experience with some shredded carrots this past evening.
That's rough.
I know, I know, I know.
Do you have any, if there's no questions, I'll pass it on to Elizabeth, but I also at the end want to talk a little bit about stock. So but I want to hear what you made, Elizabeth.
Sure. So I feel like I often get recipes from my mom, but this one is as well. It's for chicken lemon rice soup. And it's really funny because when I pulled out the recipe card, I make this very frequently, so I knew how to do it, but I got out the recipe card just in case. And it's a time-consuming but easy recipe, but it's just funny. I actually took a short video of me flipping through the recipe card here because it's like 2 recipe cards taped together with my mom's tiny handwriting, like filling both sides of both recipe cards. So it's kind of alarming, but it's a really easy recipe. Most of the thing, I would recommend doing it on like a weekend afternoon when you're going to be at home, because you have to start by roasting or baking a bunch of chicken thighs with lemon and olive oil and shallot in the oven for about 40 minutes, letting those really get the lemons seep up the chicken juices, the chicken thighs get the olive oil and the lemon flavor in them. You bake that, and then you set it aside to cool completely so that you can handle it. And so that process takes about an hour in and of itself. But after that, it's really simple. You cut up some celery ribs, put those in a big soup pot with some olive oil, let them soften, pour in 6 to 8 cups of chicken broth or stock. In the meantime, you've cooked a cup of basmati rice. And let that kind of cook and fluff it a little with a fork. And once the celery has softened and the stock is kind of simmering, you have cut up the chicken thighs and you've sliced the lemons, and you put all of that along with all the yummy juices and oil. You put that in with the stock and the celery, you put in the fluffed rice, stir it all together, let it simmer for just about 5 minutes, and it's ready to go. And it's a really warming soup, but it's also very bright. So when I told my fiance I was making soup, he was like, it's 90 degrees. Please don't do this. And I was like, well, I kind of have to for work, so you don't have a choice. But then when I told him what soup I was making, he was like, oh, that's like such a bright soup. That's like the word he used. So he was happy, even though it was summer. So it's really delicious. I think it would be great if you had a cold, but I mean, we don't, but it's also just really nice and bright and actually quite easy. It doesn't require many ingredients, which I love. So you're not actually doing much like prep work, no carrot shredding, no not much chopping or anything really. And it's really delicious. It takes about 2 hours just for the chicken baking and then making the rice and stuff, but it ends up great. It makes a good amount. We have some leftovers and it would freeze fine, I think, if you wanted to. Yeah, super simple, super delicious, really nice.
You know, I'm thinking that I could see making the chicken as like a dish and then making extra for the soup or having leftover for soup, because that sounds really yummy just to have it like that. But yeah, that sounds delicious. Kind of the Greek lemon chicken soup.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Like that is just brings back like memories of my early 20s at a friend who managed a Greek Coney Island, and I ate chicken lemon soup almost every day while I was studying. And I actually was just looking at a recipe for it the other day. So I'm so happy that you brought this one to us. I have tried a couple of your mom's recipes already so far. I know they're solid, so I'm really looking forward to making this one. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I wanted to share, I actually took a short video of it bubbling, which we can put in here. And then I have a photo of the finished product. And if I had had some Greek yogurt, I would have absolutely put a dollop on top. I think that would have been amazing. Speaking of kind of the Greek, you know, origins there, I think that would be really, really good. I didn't have any, but if I did, I would have done that. So cool. Well, Beth, did you want to say something about stock you had mentioned?
Yeah, I don't know about you all, but we are, whenever we have chicken, even maybe not so much beef, but anytime we are making chicken and I cut the fat off, or I save the bones and we're always making stock. And we also keep a scrap bag of vegetables, like the tips of the carrots and the onions, and maybe we've mentioned this before and other stuff, but anyway, we just keep a running bag of stock veggies. And so when it's time to make stock, so we always have it. And I really like knowing that, for one, it's way less sodium than the canned stuff. And it's just a great way to keep using your food scraps. You guys do it too? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I wish I did. That's something that I wish I did. It seems silly not to, you know? And I think it's so much more delicious than the canned stuff too.
You can start today, Jacob.
Today's the day.
You know, we make a ton of chicken. So whenever we have chicken parts left over, they go into the bag in the fridge just to save for when we make stock. Yeah, definitely.
Very good. All right. Wanted to make sure people knew that. Oh.
Well, thanks everyone, and thanks for sharing. And of course, please check out the Big Gay Read. Join us all in reading it and in participating in some of the events that we're putting on. We're really excited at AADL about it. And thank you for watching Recipe Share. Be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about, and feel free to share your own in the comments. Join us next time for Recipe Share. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making. So thank you for sharing, and we'll see you next time.